liked ramen noodles too. I am here to show you this. You have Rap Snacks icon. So you got Masterpiece slinging ramen noodles. This is creamy chicken gumbo. And then you have Boozy. Never really heard of him, but he is slinging, let's see, Louisiana hot spicy chicken. So I'm gonna see what this is working with. I'm waiting for my water to heat up. In the meantime, I want to talk to you about this book. So I am participating in the Asian Readathon, that Asian American Pacific Islander AAPI month for May. And so I just started this book, which is Camp Zero. Now this book came out, I think, in the beginning or middle of April. And this book is set in a future world in which climate change has affected the world, and the South is heating up to high temperatures and the North is really cold, but it's more of the elite environment in Canada, which is where this is set at. So it follows three different perspectives. So you have Rose, who is part of this brothel at this rustic work camp, and she is staying in this dilapidated mall taking on clients from the camp. Grant, who is this rich pretty boy who is trying to get from under the coattails of his really rich family, so he takes a job as an educator for the workers at this same work camp. And then you have another perspective called White Alice, which at this point you basically have a group of women that are staying at this climate station, basically monitoring climate change, and they're trying to decipher some sort of code. That's as far as I got in this book, so we shall see what happens. Thus far, it's building. Okay, I'm gonna go make my noodles. Okay, y'all, let's see what Boozy working with. Okay, it tastes like regular chicken ramen noodles. Got a little spicy kick at the end. Yeah, okay, that's on point with me. I love spice. Well, y'all, I got her done. So this is a very slow burn, mysterious atmospheric novel, and Rose, you're trying to figure out what's her agenda there, because she is definitely there for something more than just to be a distraction for the men. And then you have the women at White Alice that are just trying to survive and realize that they're gonna have to make some other decisions when the military that's supposed to be taking care of them decides to stop taking care of them and leave them on their own. So you are trying to figure out in this book, what's the connection between all these different characters, and in the end it comes together and it's with a bang. But I thought that this book was really good. You had a lot of commentary on climate change and taking care of the environment, encroaching upon Native American lands. There was a lot of sexism, a lot of elitism. You definitely see that even though people are having to make some changes in the future, when it comes to rich people, they don't need to make as many changes as the rest of us. They're good. Other people bend to their will instead of them doing it to others. But it was definitely a slow burn, I will say. But, you know, in the end, you had some action, you had some bloodiness, you had some killing. So I really did enjoy that. And there was definitely a lot of unexpected twists and turns, but definitely a good book, and I'm glad I picked it up. Now this book is a recent release, and I read this as part of Springathon and the Asian Readathon. So there you go. And oh my god, y'all, here's this one. So this is the next book I'm going to pick up because I have an NK Jemisin read along and I am behind because I haven't even started. So you have this book, the Inheritance Trilogy. Now this is 3 books, okay, but I need to read the first one, so I'm going to get at this bad boy. Look at that bad boy. I made that from scratch too. Yeah, buddy. Okay, I didn't make it from scratch, but I did buy it. My own dollars. Okay, y'all, so I finished the first book in the Inheritance Trilogy, The 100,000 Kingdoms, and I will say I enjoyed it a lot more than the 5th season. And you definitely see correlations in N.K. Jemisin writing, this whole history and world building that was built off screen before you get to this, and it's, you know, listed in the appendices. You also have the descriptions of terms as well. But this book was really good. It incorporated mythology, which I can't say I'm a huge fan of, but I did like how she did it in this one. But pretty much you have this young woman named Nghi who basically is forced to become a heir, or in competition to become an heir of this 100,000 kingdom. And she doesn't really want to be, and she knows in this competition she basically is going to die. So you also have these gods that basically walk amongst everybody, and they basically have been punished by some other god to be in human form. So they're basically enslaved by the humans and are forced to bend to whatever command that they have for them, which they are not a big fan of. Who would be, right? So they basically are trying to get Yin to help them with their own agenda to get out of enslavement. Now, will that work out? Will it won't? Well, you shall see. Keep in mind, it's 3 books, so that's on you. Anyway, it is a very good book. I did enjoy it. There are a lot of like really funny parts, and also like one-liner shockers, and there's all these twists and turns and reveals. So I really did enjoy that. And there is one part where this guy is turned into like diamonds. Just, oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. I know it's a bit of a spoiler, but you don't know where it is or who it is, so whatever. I do think that in the beginning of the book there was definitely a lot of info dump. I get why that happened in here, but I overall did enjoy this book, and I definitely think it's a better intro to N.K. Jemisin than the 5th season. And I've been told that quite a lot, but you know, did I listen? No, I went straight into the 5th season. But anyway, good book, definitely worth checking out. Looking forward to the 2nd book in the trilogy. That's next month. And you have this book, Kaiju Preservation Society. I'm about a third of the way through with this book, and this book is a riot. It is definitely suspenseful, but it is absolutely hilarious, which I did not expect the comedy in this book. It just comes left and right. I mean, it started with how the guy got fired at the beginning of the book was just very unique and just funny. I'm telling everybody about it. But anyway, Kaiju Preservation Society is about a guy, James, who gets fired at the beginning of the pandemic, and he takes a job with this animal preservation company called Kaiju Preservation Society. And they basically tell him he is going to be preserving or taking care of big game animals. However, they don't tell him that it is in like an alternate Earth reality, and it is kaiju, which are Godzilla-like animals. So he just got to this island, and let's see what happens now. So here's another recipe. So I have this sheet pan dinner, which is lemon garlic. So put it all together in one pot. So I got me some Brussels sprouts. I cut them up. See all that mess there? And then I also have some chicken drumsticks, because that's all I got. So I got some olive oil in there. I'm going to throw in this seasoned packet, and then I'm going to mix it all up. All right, now I got my chicken. I'm mixing in with the seasoning. I did add in some more water because I just didn't think that it had enough water in it. Now I'm going to move these over to my pan here. And now that I got that done, I'm just going to add in all of this Brussels sprouts to here, and then I'm going to just mix it up and then add it to the sheet pan there. And this is what it looks like before I put it into the oven. Okay, so all done in the oven, and now we're going to drizzle this little lemon garlic seasoning whatever packet all on top. It says to use as much as desired. I'm going to just use all of this because I love a good lemon. And bam, my meal is done. Let's see what this Brussels sprouts taste like. That is so good. Oh, yeah. Pretty good. Call that a win. Well, I'm back and I have been doing some reading. Okay, I have a few books. So first one is Kaiju. I finished this one and I really did enjoy it. It was really comedic just throughout. And a lot of the comedy is kind of like in a juvenile, nerdy type of way. But these are self-proclaimed nerds in the book, so I think that it all fit. You definitely see a lot about how humans are a danger to animals, and you also have like a lot of bloody action that occurs because, you know, it's kaiju, so you know they gotta kill somebody. But it was just a really good book, maybe a little bit more sentimental than I expected it to be with Godzilla, but I still did enjoy it a lot. It definitely leans on the sci-fi and the tech a little bit at times, but you can get through it. And I really liked the references to that Eddie Murphy movie called Trading Places. Really, really good. Anyway, that book. And the next book I read is this book, Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. Now, this is a graphic depiction of her novel, Parable of the Sower. Parable of the Talents is the second book, but definitely did not have a graphic depiction of that. Anyway, so this book is about a young girl named Lauren who lives in a world that has been changed by like climate change, corruption, you know, people just are not getting along, and it is a very dangerous environment. And she lives inside of this community that's walled off with her family, and she also has this rare sort of genetic defect or whatever, if you will, where she can feel other people's feelings, so other people's pain, other people's joy. So that is definitely very unique. She's a sensitive soul. Anyway, so her community is compromised and she is forced to go out into the world and fend for herself, and she starts meeting all these other different people. Now she wants to create her own religion where she has this community and everybody believes in Earthseed, but then she believes in there's a lot of change in the world, and then God believes and wants you to embrace this change and gives you free will in order to do that and make your own decisions. So that is very controversial apparently at the time. So I thought that this book though was really good in that you have this ever-changing environment and landscape. There's a lot of fires, uncontrolled, so you have a lot of those natural elements taking place. You have a lot of violence and sensitive stuff, like there's rape, there's suicide, there's killing, just a whole bunch of stuff going on. Definitely not a very fun environment for her. I did think that this whole fight for survival was very much set in a realistic way, which is kind of scary for maybe potential of the world and the ways that we are going towards. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, this book was sad. It was ethically diverse, and it definitely shows that when shit hits the fan, that people's morals definitely go out the window. But you know, if you believe in something, then you can set a standard for yourself. But I really did enjoy this book, and it is heavy, very, very heavy. And then we have this book. Now this book is a lot. I almost put this down, but you know what, I don't like the DNF, so I went ahead and finished, and I really did enjoy it for what is worth. What does that say about me? I don't know, but anyway, this book is basically about a guy named Marcos who works at a meat processing plant. However, due to a government-led initiative, because animal meat is deemed dangerous, people are now eating humans. They're breeding them, making them juicy, making them tasty, and eating them. And he is right in the midst of that. Meanwhile, his wife has left because they had a tragedy in the family, and so he's in a conundrum, and then he gets a gift of some special meat and he has to figure out what to do with it. But this book was a trip, okay? If you ever want to work in a meat processing plant as we have it today, this book seems right on point with that. Just very gruesome, very detailed, very introspective into the meat processing industry. It definitely shows you how we as humans have an utter disregard and also lackadaisical respect to the animals we have in our lives and those that we choose to ingest. Now, I will say that this book had a lot of info dump, especially in the first part. There's 2 parts. I thought it was interesting. So if you want to know all those little details, it definitely has that in there. This book is basically kind of cut and dry in telling you the story. But I did appreciate that. I know a lot of people did not. I will say that it had the potential for something more, but it is a very short book. So if the author would have kind of delved a little bit more into, you know, some other shocker drama in the story, I would have been here for it, but that would have added like another 100 pages or so. But for what it's worth, I did like this book just as is in the short format. I think it's about 200 pages. You really did get a interesting shocker at the end. But overall, really did enjoy this book. I'm glad I finally read it. I want to know what y'all have to say about this book. I know there has been a lot of different controversies about it. Tender as the Flesh, by the way, is for my horror mayhem prompt. Now, the next book is Empress of Salt and Fortune, and that one is also for the Asian Readathon. Now, Empress of Salt and Fortune is basically a story about this cleric and this, let's just say, bird, you know, fantastical environment. And they're traveling to go see an eclipse, and they stumble upon this cabin, and they're talking to this old woman who is telling the backstory about this Empress that she was the servant for. I thought it was beautifully told. It had a lot of really interesting details. The story was just kind of told in a very unique fashion so that you can flesh out the details for yourself. So I really did appreciate that. And I thought it was an interesting story. It was definitely short. Held my attention in that fashion. But other than that, it's not something I would probably want to read in a, you know, big long format. And I have one more book that I plan to do for this vlog, and that book is Obsession, and that is also for the Asian Readathon. So let me go to it and I'll be back. There you go. Thank you. Oh my God, it's the roaming around of the food.
This looks delicious.
All of this stuff looks good. Oh no. Okay, so I have finally finished the last book as part of this vlog, and this book is The Obsession by Jesse Sutanto. Is it Sutanto? Shuante. Anyway, this book fits the prompt for Asian Readathon and also for mental health, because this guy was definitely disturbed. So this is basically a YA suspenseful thriller that follows Logan and Delilah, and Delilah has a very abusive stepfather, and Logan is an obsessive rich kid, and he basically sees her kill her stepfather and then tries to blackmail her into dating him. And it was a trip. It was really funny, and you definitely get stalker vibes throughout, like real delusional stalker vibes, and I really was here for it. I personally thought that the mom's boyfriend, the stepdad, got exactly what he deserved because he was an a-hole. I liked how smart Delilah was. I think she used all that real ritzy education in order to think on her feet and get the job done. I do think that it very realistically showed how self-centered and fickle that young people can be for that age. But I did enjoy it. I did think there was a few plot holes at times, like with the detective, but overall I think it was a really good, entertaining read, and it had a quick but powerful ending. Some things to look out for in the book, though, is there was some racist talk, there was suicide, there was drugs, and there was some domestic violence. But good book, worth checking out. And that is it for all the books that I have read as part of this vlog. So I am about halfway through all these crazy readathons that I have been doing for this month. And I'm going to post this and get back to some more books. I'll see y'all later. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Bye.